In the year 2024, the homelessness crisis went from bad to that much worse, all while the richest Americans actually literally doubled their wealth. I'm sure those things are completely unrelated, right? I mean, come on, right? Actually, no, they're very much related. According to the latest annual data released on Friday by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the amount of Americans who no longer have a stable home increased massively by 18%. That's huge. Now, families who have children actually, it ended up even worse. 39% increase in homelessness for families with children. Wow. These are really disastrous numbers. Cities all over the country have actually made it easier, along with the Supreme Court, to criminalize people for sleeping out in the street. In fact, according to these numbers from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, more than 770,000 people were counted as homeless in federally required tallies taken across the country during a single night in January of 2024. The estimate likely undercounts the number of unhoused people, given that it doesn't include people staying with friends or family because they don't have a place of their own. Yes, if you were lucky enough to be able to stay with friends or family, you're still homeless, right? But at least you have a place to sleep that will not get you arrested. I remember in my childhood going through that, and yes, being lucky enough to have some place to stay, but not a place of our own. And so that is very psychologically damaging for a child. I can tell you that firsthand experience right there. That said, I think being on the street, being in your car has to be even worse. I think it creates this, poverty mentality and this inability to attach yourself to any said area, community, neighborhood, whatever, because you never know when, you're going to have to leave, to go somewhere else, to, find a new place to sleep, basically. And so, yeah, that's horrifying. It's a complete disaster. This country is, when it comes to these issues, absolute joke. Now, with that said, speaking of joke, in a press release accompanying the new data, the Biden administration was like, "Oh no, hey, what are you talking about? We are tackling the nation's homelessness crisis with the urgency that it requires." Really, and also downplayed this new data as it's not current enough. It's too old. Oh, so wait, you guys have been right on it, huh? Right on it. Okay, well done. Good job. You're really nailing it over there. All right. Now, their argument is that, well, look, it's not fair because they're using older data, right? Okay, well, let's look at the year prior then. 2023, there's actually a 12% increase in homelessness. Oh, that's bad. Yeah. I mean, we should be going the other way. Okay, there should be less, there should be decreases in the amount of homeless people. But we're not going in that direction, and there are reasons why. Look, now, of course, in order to actually go in the right direction, you actually have to accurately explain the problem. So I'm going to get to that. What's driving the surge? Well, in 2023, HUD blamed the increase on soaring rents. Jimmy McMillan, right? The rent is too high. It's too damn high. Correct again. Okay. Yes, the rent is too damn high. Not only that, but also the end of pandemic assistance also played a gigantic role in this. All right. Now, the 2024 surge also, not going to surprise you, that it was driven mostly by a lack of affordable housing. Then, of course, you also had natural disasters. Some of them definitely influenced by climate change. Okay. And you also had, unsurprisingly, as a result of some of these natural disasters, a surge of migrants in some regions of the country. So, yeah, it's according to federal officials. But notice that the number one reason, the biggest reason here is the lack of affordable housing. Now, it's not that the housing doesn't necessarily exist. There is housing, right? A lot of people can't afford it, especially in the cities. Right now, there's about 15.1 million vacant houses in this country. It's about 10.5% of the country's total housing, right? So now, a lot of that, to be fair, is empty, not because it was just completely ignored or whatever. No, they're either for sale, okay, and people can't afford it, or they're between renters, and a lot of renters can't really afford it. So the problem is, you can't afford it, okay? And look, when it comes to renting, I mean, you need first month's rent, you need last month's rent, you need security deposit, you need credit checks, references. It's tough to rent out there, especially if you've experienced any kind of financial issue, which again, you have about half of all Americans that are $400 away from they can't afford a $400 emergency. So yeah, you get those people trying to rent, even if they can afford it, they still run into those hurdles, right? To where, oh, we're not going to rent to those, to that particular person because, you got something on your credit. Oh, that just doesn't look very good. And again, other problem here with rental is that we're not dealing with, like, oh, this person bought a home and then they got a second home and then they're going to rent it out for a little bit of extra income. Yes. No, a lot of these are institutional, basically companies, right? Investors. These real estate investors, according to Redfin, purchased about 44,000 homes in the U.S. during the first quarter of 2024. 44,000 homes. That's close to 19% of all U.S. homes sold during that time frame. The share of lower-priced homes bought by investors was about 26.1%. Over a quarter of all the lower-income homes were snapped up by these investors, who then turned them into rentals. They're squeezing people out and raising the prices of homes while raising the prices of rent. You can see the problem, right? And of course, you can also add in the fact that, yes, we're not building affordable housing. And one of the reasons that we're not building affordable housing is because you've got a lot of NIMBYism, okay? People don't want it in their neighborhoods. Drives down the value of their homes. Not in my backyard. Can't have it. Can't have it.
Can't let that happen.
Okay, so all that. We've got institutional investors buying up a lot of the new homes, charging people insane amounts of rent. The amount of new homes that are being built is lower than before. And you get a significant amount of those that get snapped up by private industry. And of course, you have the neglect of building affordable housing. And so this is a perfect storm, okay? All of this is making the housing crisis that much worse. And what are we doing about it? As a country, not much. Criminalizing people for being homeless. Putting them in jail, which I'm sure is not going to help anyone, as far as helping them be able to afford a home, and to get into a home. I mean, you go to jail, you get a criminal record, well, that makes it almost impossible to find housing. You can't get government help. Felons don't get government assistance. They can't get into affordable housing because they're felons. And so, what's going to happen to them? They're stuck, and they keep getting into this poverty trap, and ending up in the street, getting arrested, going to jail, ending back, getting released, getting back in the street. They can't do anything. And this is all happening while the world's 5 richest men have doubled their wealth over the last 4 years. The rich are getting richer. I mean, this is America. These are the headlines in the year 2024. Is there any wonder why people are mad? I mean, I think you can tell people are mad because we just had an election where the establishment got completely wiped out by someone who is considered, although I don't agree with that, to be anti-establishment. I think Donald Trump is just a different face of the same establishment that has been screwing us all over the entire time. Okay? He's just a different face there, but the same kind of, billionaire bloodsucker, okay, that is screwing us all over. But nonetheless, there are Trump voters out there. And I talked about, Washington Post piece last week where, you got people out there that voted for Trump. Like, we put you in office. We expect you to help us out. We believe that you are someone who is going to help the poor. No. And they also are like, well, look, we were, relying on you to not cut the programs that we need to live. You promised to help us. The only thing I have to say is they've got a really rude awakening coming their way, and I don't want to see it. None of us want to see it. None of us want to see people suffer. Especially even if they made the wrong political choice during an election that was chock full of misinformation and all this stuff. So a really terrible situation. Okay, and I don't want to see people get hurt, but people are going to get hurt. And it's going to be the people that relied on Donald Trump, believed his lies, that are going to be hurt the most. And it's incredibly unfortunate. While, of course, rich people like Elon Musk are going to get that much richer. Now, you also have the response, by the way, to the death of Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO. About 7 in 10 adults, according to a poll, said the denial for healthcare coverage by insurance companies or the profits made by these companies bear at least a great deal or a moderate amount of responsibility for Thompson's death. 44% said, at least when it comes to denial of healthcare coverage, said it bore a great deal of responsibility for the death of Thompson. A great deal. Now, you're not going to get a lot of the breakdown of this on mainstream media of this poll. They'll mainly say, oh, well, most Americans blame the person who allegedly did the shooting, Luigi. It's one way mainstream media loves to kind of hide the ball on this one and be like, oh, yeah, no, most people obviously they don't agree with this, the killing and all that, but there it is. The responsibility on it. Yeah, I know most people do agree with that. But once again, you also have the 7 in 10 saying, no, a great deal or moderate a deal of responsibility for Thompson's death has to do with denying people healthcare coverage they pay for. So that's very important, right? Now, about half of the people polled believed that at least a moderate amount of blame is rooted in wealth or income inequality. A little more than half of them said, yeah, it's a great deal of blame going around. So there is a massive amount of anti-elite going after these billionaires. A lot of people very much putting a lot of the blame where it should be. The insurance companies, claim denials, other things, okay? Wealth, that's the problem. Now, of course, the majority, as I mentioned, already also says the person who allegedly shot Thomas is most to blame because we all know murder is wrong, okay? We all do. At the same time, though, we all understand that murder with a pen is just as wrong as murder with a gun, okay? It's an example of the anger that people have at the elites who are, to wrap it all around, right? Driving it home. They're driving homelessness. They're killing people by denying them care. Okay? Killing people by gutting the regulations, the safety regulations when it comes to their food. Okay? Because people are getting sick. That's what's going on. They're doing it for profit. They're doing it for profit. This is late stage capitalism that is causing all these problems. And only by identifying the real problem can we actually now move forward to find a solution. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/SurgesTV. Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.